Hi there. Hope you're living life to the fullest. This is Jordan, your guide on the quest for boundless longevity. Welcome to the Longevity Unlocked podcast, a place where I dive deep into the world of those extraordinary everyday heroes who are rewriting the rules of aging. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to a lovely lady named Judy, whose life journey is a testament to the extraordinary heights one can reach even in the face of difficult challenges. Judy joins us on Longevity Unlocked to share her unique and positive perspective on the concepts of mindset and self-improvement. In a world where the concept of aging can sometimes be daunting, Judy stands as a beacon of inspiration. In her community, Judy has taken this concept to heart, going above and beyond by founding not just one, but two social groups that have woven the fabric of connection amongst its members. Through shared activities, interests, and camaraderie, Judy is illustrating that a strong and support network and a sense of belonging are timeless ingredients for a fulfilling life. Thank you again to Judy for joining us, and to our listeners, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode of Longevity Unlocked. So let's get into it. Alrighty, thanks Judy for coming, carving out some time out of your day to come and have a chat to me about how you kind of, or what you do to kind of keep yourself busy in the later years. So thank you for coming. But I'll get straight into it, and I'd like to ask you the first question, which is, I guess, from your upbringing and your working years and now your kind of retirement years, has anything that's kind of helped you become the person you are today, or that stands out?
Oh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I read something years ago which says the key to happiness is having something to do, someone to love, and something to look forward to. So I think that's really important. And I've always been busy and active and had things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very lucky I've got a happy marriage. We've been married for 50 years and have 3 adult children and 6 grandchildren. So
Fantastic.
Plus other family, yeah. So yeah, I think those things, and there's always something to look forward to. Yeah, something coming up. And I'm very lucky that I've had good health all my life.
Yeah, and I guess maybe if we go back to those kind of earlier years, what was life like for you?
What was life like? Another big question. I grew up in a nuclear family with one sister. We weren't terribly well off, certainly not compared to what families have these days. But I mean, I never knew any different, so it wasn't a problem. I was lucky that I was very good at school, quite clever, and managed to go right through school and university, and that ensured good career. I was a librarian first, and then switched to social work, and that, of course, then this is going back. When did I start being a social worker? About 40 years ago, I think. But then and now, there's always plenty of work for social workers. It's not a career that a lot of people prefer, and it doesn't pay terribly well, so not as much competition, I suppose. But some of the jobs I had were quite satisfying, others not so much. Sorry, what's the question again?
Oh, good. I guess now that you talked a little bit about those earlier years now in that, and then a little bit into your kind of working years. How about now, once you've retired, or?
Oh, okay. Well, I retired quite young, 59. I had my in-laws who have since passed away, but they were both at the stage where they were getting older and frailer and not able to drive, and were needing a fair bit of assistance to get to medical appointments and that sort of thing. So I left work, and we were able to afford for me to leave, and I thought I can always go back as a social worker. And then the grandchildren were starting to come as well, so I had a lot of caregiving responsibilities for a while. I know a lot of friends of ours have found the process of retirement quite difficult, because they think and they say, I don't know what I'll do with myself if I don't go to work.
Yeah.
I never thought that because I had plenty of other things to do. And as I said, I thought I can always go back to work if I want to. But certainly never really been short of occupation, things to do. I mean, I've never thought you had to work for money to feel worthwhile. You know, there's plenty of things that you can do, especially if you want to be helping other people, that don't necessarily pay a salary but are worthwhile and satisfying. So that's sort of what I've done, I guess. So first it was caring for the in-laws. My own parents died a long time ago. Then it was grandchildren, helping to look after them, care for them. Then on my sister, I used to take her. She's not as independent, I suppose, as I am, and I used to take her out. I still do take her out to the pictures once a week. And gradually, with that going out to the pictures once a week, we added other people to that, and we formed a little group. So that's one thing, one pastime, if you like, occupation. But it's also a social thing, and it's also helpful to other people because it gets my sister out and, you know, mixing with other people.
That's very important.
Yeah, and we've got another cousin or cousin-in-law actually who isn't able to drive anymore and can't get around all that easily herself, so she comes as well. And another friend of my husband comes too, another friend of ours whose wife died a year ago, so we said would he like to come along, so he's been coming. And I think it sort of helps him. I mean, you never get over, it's really hard getting over the death of your partner, but at least if you've got some way of connecting with other people, I think that helps.
Yeah, and that's the key, especially for anyone who's kind of listening, that although like it's quite tough and there's no denying it, but there's always ways to kind of help that process, such as doing these kind of social activities and going to the pictures, and also encouraging other people to come along, because sometimes they want to come, but it's just they need that invitation or a little kind of nudge.
Right. And if they know if you say come with us, well, you know me and you know someone such as so and so, and they soon get to know the other people in the group. So that's we go every Tuesday. We've been doing that for several years now, and that works really well. Go out for lunch and then to a film. The other thing, the thing that I did when we lived in, I did a few things when we lived in Camperdown and Clunes, a country town just north of Ballarat.
Yeah.
We lived there for 5 years, I think, just before my husband retired and just after. But then we came back to Melbourne because we were getting more grandchildren, and I was getting requests to look after them, and it was difficult when you're an hour and a half away. So we said, perhaps we should move back. So we did. But while we lived in Clunes, I started I'm very crafty. I do knitting. I do knitting toys and dolls and things. And I was able to sell a few, and I thought, wouldn't it be really good to have a little shop and see if other people in the area want to make things and sell them. So we actually bought an investment property, a little house up there, and I put an ad in the newsletter, would anybody like to join a group, and you work there one day a week and you put your things in, and 10% goes to the shop and you keep the rest. So I got an awful lot of responses, and in no time we had enough people to do it. So we did that.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so it didn't last terribly long because of cost, really. There wasn't enough people to, enough turnover of the goods, not enough people in the town to make it viable as a shop. But the idea was certainly really good, and people did enjoy it while it lasted. So that was that. Did a few other things in Clunes too. But then when we came back to Melbourne, the other thing that I did that's been very successful, which again follows the principles of some occupation and some sort of social interaction, was I started up a group of card players. I've always really loved playing cards, and particularly a game called 500. So I couldn't find any groups around here where it was happening. There was Bridge, but Bridge is much harder than 500. So I went to the community centre and I said, oh, look, could I start up a little group? And they said yes. So it took a while at first to get people, but that was 2.5 years ago. But not only has it grown, we've got more people, but the growth level is greater. So like the first 6 months there was only 2 of us and then 3. And I think there was 3 of us for most of that time. Then it kind of, when we had COVID, of course. But in the last 2 months, we've had 4 new people. So the growth rate is faster as more people get to know about it.
Fantastic,
It's a good occupation. It's social. You can play with any number. You have like 4 at a table, but you can have 3 or 2 or 5. So you can accommodate whichever people come along. And there's no cost. And it's sociable, as I say. So that's been going really well. So that's what I do at the moment, those 2 things mainly, plus still a bit of babysitting and things like shopping and doctor's appointments and sort of thing.
Yeah, and before you go on, Judy, I'd like to kind of go back and when you mentioned about how people not having anything to do once they kind of stop their work, and how you mentioned how it doesn't really matter what you do, you just have to kind of find fulfillment in it. But would you, I guess, be able to expand on, or do you know why so many people feel that way once kind of work has kind of stopped?
Yeah, well, I think for some of them, because depending on what you do for a living, sometimes once you leave, that's it, you're not going to be able to get back. So that it's kind of, and all the time that work takes. If you work full time, that's 40 hours a week plus your travel time, and so your whole life is really built around your work. And when that goes, if you go from that to retirement, sort of suddenly, it's kind of like a bit scary, like staring into an existential abyss. What'll I do? I've been doing all this work. What'll I do now? Some people I know, and my husband included, and me to some extent, went from full-time to part-time for a while and then to retirement. And some people, I suppose, don't have the imagination to think of what hobbies they could follow that will be enough to, keep them interested. Like if you do something like playing golf, you might go and play golf 2 or 3 times a week, perhaps, for example. But if you don't have something like that, it can be a bit scary, I suppose. Yeah.
And I guess, is there anything else that possibly people listening could do except for finding, I guess, groups or hobbies to try and make that kind of process easier?
I just think, look at what you're interested in. I mean, I've always been a very big reader. I love reading, so I could read. When I retired, I could read more, and gardening, I could garden more. So whatever things you're interested in, you can do more. But as I say, I think the problem for some people is that they don't have a lot of other interests. They haven't had time for many other things when they're working. So they may not know what they're interested in, which is another reason why if you go part-time working for a while, you can spend some of your time looking at other things that you might do.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. And you probably have to do a little bit of that inner work to find and figure out something that...
If you don't know what... These days, there's, you're probably aware, there's a lot of community centres, neighbourhood centres, University of the Third Age, a lot of places like that which have courses and classes and all sorts of things that cater for different people. So it's a good idea to check them out. The one nearest us, I did check that out and there was nothing there. They do mostly cooking. I'm not interested in cooking.
Yeah.
I thought about the University of the Third Age, but I didn't really sort of get round to that.
And I think you're busy enough just with the schedule and all that. But that's definitely some great resources for people listening to just have a look and see if there's anything close by for them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And I guess I wanted to also ask you about how you have embraced and navigated, I guess, the aging process physically and emotionally.
How have I?
Yeah.
Good question. I mean, I haven't ever actually really thought I'm getting older, I must navigate the process. Well, just sort of take things as they come, I suppose. And like, as I say, when I had my elderly in-laws, and I thought, well, you know, give some time to them, and I need to give more time to them, so I need to drop something. And what do? I'll drop work. So that was fine, and just sort of prioritising as you go along, I suppose. And my problem has never been not having much to do. I suppose it's been the opposite, have too much and having to prioritise what's more important, which I think is a much better way to be if you're lucky enough to be that way.
Yes, exactly. If your circumstances allow.
Yeah. I mean, I think having families and grandchildren helps a lot too, because they take up quite a lot of time. Oh, and pets. Pets is another thing. I've always had cats. I think people who have pets, that takes up a fair bit of your time and attention and energy.
But also gives you that kind of positive love and connection.
Yeah, connection.
That sometimes is quite important as you get older.
Yeah,
and I know you mentioned also, sorry, Judy, off-air the exercise and the kind of nutrition aspect of your life that you've kind of cultivated and you believed has been working well for you. Could you expand on some of that?
Well, I got myself a Fitbit, and because it's really good for motivation, I suppose. You do 10,000 steps a day, so I make sure that I do. If I haven't done them by, like when I'm just thinking about going to bed, if I haven't done them, I'll just do some jogging up and down on the floor until I get to 10,000, which is that's sort of a fitness thing. I mean, I think for some people, obviously, there's things like going to a gym or doing yoga or swimming, or all sorts of things like that you can do. I've tried some of those, but that's not really what I'm most interested in. So I just go walking and make sure I do the steps.
Yep, everyone's different. So
with nutrition, I mean, I'm only short, and I've always had a tendency to put on weight, so I've had to be careful about what I eat and make sure I eat lots of healthy food, lots of vegetables and fruit, and that sort of thing. Try not to eat too many sweets. That's kind of common sense, isn't it?
I know, but it's easier said than done, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Even myself included, for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like sweets, but you just can't afford to. So I mean, it's all about balance, I think.
Yeah, moderation for sure.
Your weight and your size is about balance, and moderation too. Yeah, and I think life is about balance, really. Not too much of any one thing.
No, spot on for sure. Yeah. Moving on to, I guess, you've mentioned a lot of the positive things and how you've been able to kind of start the groups, been able to kind of prioritise your life to be able to do the things you want to do. I guess, how have you approached and dealt with like regrets or missed opportunities in your life?
Oh, don't think about them. That's the only way. I've certainly made a lot of mistakes, especially in some of my jobs that I had. It'd be great to go back and undo them, do them differently, but you can't. So whenever I start thinking about those things, I force myself to think about something else. But you can't change what's happened, so what's the point?
Yeah. And I guess if you don't mind me asking, what are those kind of things that you rely on to try and get you out of that kind of mindset, or when you
just consciously think of something else.
Anything like positive or anything that kind of means something to you?
Yeah, something positive, or planning what you're going to do tomorrow or something. Or I read a lot of books, so sometimes I'll go through the books that I'm reading and think about who's in the books and where they're set and when I'm going to finish them and what book I'm going to read next and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you I guess try and push it away, would you say?
Yeah, definitely.
And do you feel like sometimes that's not enough, or
it usually works?
Usually works, yeah. Because
I
guess sometimes people who kind of just keep on going through and just kind of push it away sometimes aren't able to, and it kind of just builds up.
Oh, well, that's when you get depression. Yeah. No, you've got to. Well, if you can, you've got to try to just think of something better, something positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or would you say recommending just face it on, or kind of just put up with it, or try and talk about it with someone who you've
regrets?
Yeah.
Talk about them.
Or would you just kind of keep it to yourself?
I wouldn't talk about anything from the past that I regret. haven't really got any at the moment. No. I mean, I think it was all, the mistakes that I made, I think it's to do with my personality compared to the job that I was in. Like, not agreeing with what the official position was and not accepting that and kind of being a bit rebellious sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
And then of course you don't win, so yeah. But at the moment, I don't have any regrets currently, I wouldn't say.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
It was more just to kind of, I guess, let the audience hear that sometimes you can push away, but sometimes it's better just to kind of get it out and just talk to someone that's close to you.
Well, I think in general terms, if you need to talk something out, by all means do. But I don't at the moment, no.
Yeah, because I think resilience is quite key, especially as we get older, that things, I guess, don't let us get us down so easily, and that we do have to kind of keep on pushing. Or
I think you have to make your brain take charge, think rationalise things, and just sort of tell yourself not to be wallowing in things. Yeah.
So would you say self-talk is quite
Self-talk's
important?
pretty,
And that you've been able to implement in your life?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, as I say, being a social worker, you learn a lot of these things. I don't know if you know these things. Rational emotional therapy, which is if you're starting to let something getting on top of you and letting you down, your brain tells you to think differently. You just tell yourself not to be silly about that, and not to think that, and not to worry about that. Think of something better. There's a better way of doing it.
Yeah, that's a great technique. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously it will take time for you to get better at it, because it might not work the first couple of times, but I guess...
Oh, I think if your mind is strong enough, it'll work. Some people, I think, their mind might not be so strong, and they've had a habit of giving into things or letting pressures get them down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess, what are your kind of goals and aims for the next 5-10 years for yourself in regards to...
I don't really have any particular clear goal that I want to get to. Just keep doing what I'm doing, I suppose, is fine. One thing, I could say, as I said, I had this shop with selling handcrafts and involving other people. I'd really like to do that again if I could, because it worked really well. For a while here in this area, there was a community market that we had once a month in Central West, the shopping centre, Central West.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it was a group called Made in Braybrook. But of course, when COVID came along, it had to stop, and then they never started it again, which was really disappointing. So it was a group of us used to go along there once a month, and there was no cost, which was really good. And we just had a table each, and we would just take our handcrafts to sell. And I'd always sell a few things, and that was kind of good for having things to make then. Like if I sold something, then I'd make another one similar for next time. So it was kind of an incentive, if you know what I mean. So I've sort of missed that because I haven't got anything to make now. Or I make a few things for now and again for a friend or grandchildren or something. I make things, but when we had the market, it was really, really good incentive. And again, it was a good connection, social gathering, make a bit of pin money. Didn't make a lot of money, but some.
Yeah, and something's better than nothing.
Yeah, it was a really good group of people. I mean, it was all older people, retired people who weren't trying to make a living. Or there were some who wanted to make a living, but they wouldn't make a living out of that, so they might do it as an extra. I know there are other markets around, but they all cost money. You have to pay to go, and you have to be there all day. And this one was 10 till 2, which is 4 hours, which is quite much more feasible. So I'd really like to have something like that again, or start, if I ever got the opportunity to start something like that up again. That's probably the only goal I could say that I've got at the moment. Yeah.
And I guess from that, would you have any kind of advice for someone who wants to kind of do something like that, or join a group and they're like sitting on the fence, should I not?
Yeah. Well, the only thing I can say about that is just take yourself in hand and just do it. Yeah, and if you're nervous, we have, as I said, we have new people joining our card playing group, and sometimes their name will pop up on the list, and it takes a few weeks before they come. And I've said to the receptionist there, look, if they're shy, just tell them that, I'd be happy to pick them up the first time if they like, and bring them along. I've never had to do that. They usually do come. If they're going to come, they'll come.
But if they need that extra little kind of help.
So I think, if you're ringing up a community centre or somewhere and you're a bit shy, well, just ask if there's anybody else that could help them to get used to the place, or help them could explain it all to them beforehand or something like that. Yeah.
And I'm sure there would be someone.
Sure there would be. Yeah.
So sometimes you just got to ask. Yeah. And if you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly. Yes, exactly right. But usually if you want to do something, you just got to do it. No one else can do it for you. Mm-hmm. Really, ultimately.
No, thank you for that. And I like to kind of finish up with this question with all the guests that I have on the podcast, and that is, in your opinion, what is the most important ingredient for a happy and fulfilling life?
Well, I read years ago that there's 3 things that you need for happiness.
I guess now if you choose one out of
just
the 3,
one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Which of the 3 would be the most important? Probably someone to love, I suppose. But if you've got someone to love, you've probably got the 3 things are someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier.
But I think if you've got someone to love, the others might fall into place. If you've only got something to do and not someone to love or someone to look forward to, you might be in a dead-end job and not be happy. And something to look forward to is good, but yeah, you don't want that to be the only thing in your life.
So you'd say just
I suppose
love.
someone to love you. Human connection is probably the most important thing. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks again, Judy, for coming along and sharing all your insights and life experiences. And yes, hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today on Longevity Unlocked. If you found today's discussion enlightening and you're eager to learn more about living your best and healthiest life well into your golden years, I invite you to hit that subscribe button right below. And if you've enjoyed our chat today, giving this video a quick thumbs up would mean the world to me. Your likes help us reach even more individuals who, like you and me, are passionate about unlocking the secrets to longevity. So this is Jordan signing off from the Longevity Unlocked podcast. Stay youthful, stay vibrant, and take care.